Hi, my name is Simon. I'm here today to talk about PowerShell tools. In relation to PowerShell tools, I want to talk what the purpose of them is, how do you install them, some specifics about what tools are available, how you use them, and where you can learn more. So what's the purpose of the PowerShell tools? Essentially, these are tools that you can use for automation. You can use them to configure test environments. You can use them for reproducible environment creation. You can use them to automate various configuration tasks, do bulk system configuration, import and export of configuration, and you can do some simple custom reports using them. And essentially they give you command line interface access to the VMS configuration as if you were using the MIP SDK directly. And you can do all of this without having any compiled code, which might be useful for certain scenarios. So how do you install them? There's an installer script you can run from the Milestone PS Tools homepage, which you can find at milestonepstools.com. That'll install the Milestone PS Tools for all users. You can also just run install module, as you can see over here on the right. That'll install it either for a single user or for all users, depending on whether you set the scope or not. Or if you need to run this on an air-gapped system, there is a NuGet package you can download and manually extract. But I definitely don't recommend that unless you really need to, because it is more than a little complicated. So tools that are available. You can get, if you run get VMS management server, you can get a strongly typed management server object that you can interact with. I'll demonstrate that in a little moment. There's get configuration item, which gets a generic configuration item instead of the strongly typed version. There's also, for example, get recorder status service, which will get you an interacting client for interacting with the recorder status of whatever recorder you might want to talk to. And there's get VMS token, which will give you the current XProtect token if you need to use that in, for instance, another application and you need to pass the token on. There's a bunch of other tools available. There is in fact quite a lot of tools. One example you might want to use is export VMS hardware and import VMS hardware to do a simple export of all of the hardware settings for a system, which you can then later import, for instance, in another system that you have installed. Logging in is done either by using a Windows user or AD user, using essentially these commands. You can either use the get credential method, which will give you the standard PowerShell login dialog as seen on the right here. Or you can use the Milestone login by calling connect VMS with the show dialog parameter. Or you can use pre-created credentials that you got from somewhere else by simply calling connect management server with your server address and then credentials for whatever you might want to need. You can also call the get VMS camera report, which will give you a report of all the cameras for a specific recorder. And you can export that as a CSV to save it as a file by piping it in to that particular commandlet. So let's do a short demonstration of how we use this. So here's my PowerShell. So here's our PowerShell, and we will call if I can type. That should give us a login dialog. There we go. And I can just say I want to log in with my current user. And there we go. So now I'm logged in. Using the standard Milestone login dialog. So now I can get, if I call get VMS management server, I can get the server that I'm actually logged into. You'll notice that's the same output that I got as a result from just logging in. I can save that in a PowerShell variable if I want to. So I can do like this, and then I can dig into it a little more. So now, for instance, I can use that variable, and I can say I want to look at the recording servers. And it'll show me there's a single recording server. You'll notice that this is different from the management server that it just showed us, because this one has a different port, because the recorder is always running on a separate port. Right, so from our management server folder, or rather from our management server object, I can go into our camera groups folder and get all of our camera groups. Then I can say I want a specific camera group, and I could say I want all the cameras in that group, and I could also say I only want a specific camera in that group, and I would get that specific camera. So if I want to save that camera as a variable, I could do that. And I now have that in my folder. So now I could, for instance, call get VMS camera setting. It's called get VMS camera general setting. And say that the camera I want to get it for is the camera that I just saved. So that gives me a bunch of settings. So say I want to save those settings into a variable, which would be an array, obviously. I could do that, and then I could say, I could change, let's change the gain. So I could say settings gain, and I could change that. It's currently 20. Let's change it to 25. And then I could use set VMS camera general setting and call that with our camera. And say I want the settings to be the object that I've just edited. So now when I call the get settings, you'll notice the gain has been changed to 25. That's just an example of what can be done. Of course, there's plenty of other commands you could do. Where can you learn more? This is probably the most relevant part of the presentation, because the place you can learn more, there's two. One of them is a developer forum article you can go to, and the other one is the PowerShell Tools page, milestonePSTools.com, which has the front page here, including the how do you install it guidelines. But it also has this overview of all of the commands, and as you can see, there are a lot of them, each one described in details about how to use it, what to use it for, and what parameters to provide. So that's your basic entry point for whatever you need to know about the Milestone PowerShell tools. And like I said, there's also a developer forum article here, which links onto the PowerShell Tools page. So that's all I had for today. Thank you.